Hello. Hello and welcome to this video on SQL and JSON functions and operators. So we are going through JSON functions and operators, and we had covered material till SQL JSON regular expression. So we will continue from section 9.16.3. Also, if I don't forget, at the end of video, I will show you my web application which I have created for you for asking questions. It might take two videos, including today's one, to finish this section on JSON. So maybe I could try to finish this today, but it is long, so I'll take one more video. So tomorrow we will finish this, and then we will see a full example of JSON and JSON functions and operators example. So without further ado, let's get started. SQL or JSON functions, JSON exist, JSON query, and JSON value described in table 9.54 can be used to query JSON documents. Each of these functions apply a path expression and SQL JSON path query to a context item in the document. See section 9.16.2 for more details on what the path expression can contain. The path expression can also reference variables whose values are specified with their respective names in the passing clause that is supported by each function. Context item can be a JSON-B value or a character string that can be successfully crafted JSON-B. So we have first the JSON exist function, we have context item, path expression, passing some value as var name. Then we have true, false, unknown, error, error on error, and returns boolean. Returns true if the SQL JSON path expression applied to the context item yields any items, false otherwise. The on error clause specifies the behavior if an error occurs during the path expression evaluation. Specifying error will cause an error to be thrown with the appropriate message. Other options include returning boolean with values false or true with or the value unknown, which is actually an SQL null. The default, when no on error clause specified, is to return the boolean value false. So we have JSON exist, JSON-B data type. We have an object with the property key1, and the property is an array 1 to 3. The value of that property is 1 to 3. And in strict mode, we apply root node then dot key 1. So we are referencing the array, and star means we are referencing all the items in the array, and then we filter and compare greater than $x, where x is passing 2 as x, so $x is 2. So clearly 3 will be greater than 2, so it is true. Now in this case we are doing in lax mode and we try to access a file, okay, but since this is lax mode, it won't throw an error and we will have false. But if you use strict mode, then error on error will throw an error that JSON path array subscript is out of bounds because 5 is out of bounds for this. Then we have JSON query, context item, path expression, passing value as var name, returning data type, format JSON. So we can read this. There is quite a bit here. So let's go through it. So these are all optional. Whatever is inside square brackets is optional, and there are several combinations we have. So we can specify return data type, format, encoding, without or with, conditional, unconditional, array, wrapper. So these are all optional. So we refer to the notes here. Returns the result of applying the SQL JSON path expression to the context item. By default, the result is returned as a value of type JSON-B, though the returning clause can be used to return as some other type to which it can be successfully coerced. If the path expression may return multiple values, it might be necessary to wrap those values using the with wrapper clause to make it a valid JSON string, because the default behavior is to not wrap them, as if without wrapper were specified. The with wrapper clause is by default taken to mean with conditional wrapper, with unconditional wrapper, which means that even a single result value will be wrapped. To apply the wrapper only when multiple values are present, specified with the conditional wrapper. Getting multiple values in result will be treated as an error if without wrapper is specified. If the result is a scalar string, by default the return value will be surrounded by quotes, making it a valid JSON value. It can be made explicit by specifying keep quotes. Conversely, quotes can be omitted by specifying omit quotes. To ensure that the result is a valid JSON value, omit quotes cannot be specified when with wrapper is also specified. The onEmpty clause specifies the behavior if evaluating path expression yields an empty set. The onError clause specifies the behavior if an error occurs when evaluating path expression. When coercing the result value to the returning type, give me a moment. Or when evaluating the onEmpty expression if the path expression evaluation returns an empty set. For both onEmpty and onError, specifying error will cause an error to be thrown with the appropriate message. Other options include returning an SQL null or empty array, empty array, an empty object, or a user specified expression that can be coerced to JSONB or the type specified in return. The default when onEmpty or onError is not specified is to return an SQL null value. So we look at this. So we have a JSONB value here. And then we have inside that value 1 and then another array. So it is a nested array to 3 and then null. And then we have dollar lax mode is there. And we have dollar and then star. That means it will iterate over each element of the array. Okay. And I do not understand the meaning of this. Dollar off. Dollar will be the root element of, let's see, passing 1 as off. So it is $1. Okay. So as off with conditional wrapper. So off here 1 means this element 2, 3. That is the first index. So we are looking at 3 here, because this index will mean that first item. Now this is not an array, so we can't add another subscript, but this is an array of 2 elements. So if it is 0, $off is 0, then it will mean 2, and if $off is 1, it will mean 3. So that's why we have 3 in the output. So I didn't read the off one way, so I got confused with $off. Apologies for that. So now we have JSON query, JSONB, we have an object with property A, and we have array 1, 2, and in lax mode we are looking at $.a, and omitting quotes we have 1, 2 as the return array. Then we have JSONB, same object, lax mode, returning integer array, omit quotes, error on error. So when you see this, it says that malformed array literal within double quotes 1, 2, because it is not proper array JSON array. Nothing bracket after array dimensions. So that's where we have got problem. Then we have got JSON value, context items, similar stuff, and kind of similar detail, but less verbose than JSON query. So let's read it. Return the result of applying the SQL JSON path expression to the context item. Only use JSON value if the expected value is expected to be a single SQL JSON scalar item. Getting multiple values will be treated as an error. If you expect that expected value might be an object or an array, use the JSON query function instead. By default, the result, which must be a single scalar value, is returned as a value of type text, though the returning clause can be used to return as some other type to which it can be successfully coerced. The onError and onEmpty clauses have similar semantics as mentioned in the description of JSON query, except the set of values returned in lieu of throwing an error is different. Note that scalar strings written by JSON value always have their quotes removed. equivalent to specifying omit codes in JSON query. So we have a JSON value 123.45 and we match the root node. This is the root node returning float, so we get 123.5. Then we have a timestamp, and it is we return it to $.datetime, and template is HH24 minutes YYYY so it returns the date part of it, and we have got the date 2015 to 01. Then we have JSON value, we have an array 1 2, and we have stick $off, so 1 is off, so that is 2, so we get 2 here. And this is multiple values, this will return multiple values, so it will return error because default is specified as 9. So that's why it returns 9. Note that we have two notes. The context item expression is converted to JSON-B by an implicit cast if the expression is not already of type JSON-B. Note, however, that any parsing errors that occur during the conversion are thrown in unconditionally, that is, are not handled according to the specified or implicit on error clause. JSON value returns an SQL null if path expression returns a JSON null, whereas JSON query returns the JSON null as is. After this, we have the last section of this, last subsection of this section. So JSON table will finish this. So we will start it, but I don't think we will be able to finish it. So let's get started on this, and do not forget that there will be lots of examples once we finish this. Most probably I'll show that tomorrow and share as a gist. JSON table is an SQL JSON function which queries JSON data and presents the result as a relational view, which can be expressed as a regular SQL table. You can use JSON table inside the from clause of a select, update, or delete, and as data source in a merge statement. Taking JSON data as input, JSON table uses a JSON path expression to extract a part of the provided data to use as row pattern for the constructed view. Each SQL or JSON value given by the row pattern serves as source for separate row in the constructed view. To split the row patterns into columns, JSON table provides the columns clause that defines the schema of the created view. For each column, a separate JSON path expression can be specified to be evaluated against the row pattern to get an SQL or JSON value that will become the value of the specified column in the given output row. JSON data stored at the nested level of the row pattern can be extracted using the nested path clause. Each nested path clause can be used to generate one or more columns using the data from a nested level of the row pattern. These columns can be specified using a columns clause that looks similar to the top level columns clause. Rows constructed from nested columns are called child rows and are joined against the row constructed from the columns specified in the parent columns clause to get the row in the final view. Child columns themselves may contain a nested path specification, thus allowing to extract data located at arbitrary nesting levels. Columns produced by multiple nested paths at the same level are considered to be siblings of each other, and the rows after joining with the parent row are combined using union. The row produced by JSON table are laterally joined to the row that generated them, so you do not have to explicitly join the constructed view with the original table holding JSON data. So here syntax is given. So JSON table context item path expression as JSON path name. So this is optional. Passing value as var name, that is also optional. Then we have optional ellipsis. We will see what can go in that. Then we have columns, which is JSON table column, error, empty, error, on error. Where JSON table column, this one is, we have this in detail. Name for ordinality, name type, format JSON encoding UTF-8, path expression without, with, conditional, unconditional, array, wrapper. So you can read all the description here. Note that always remember whatever is inside bracket is optional. Each syntax element is described below in more detail. For context item path expression as JSON path name, passing value as var name and triple log. So you see that this bracket starts here and closes here. The context item specifies the input document to query. The path expression is an SQL JSON path expression defining the query, and JSON path name is an optional path name for the path expression. The optional passing clause provides data values for the variables mentioned in the path expression. The result of the input data evaluation using the aforementioned elements is called the row pattern, which is used as the source for row values in the constructed view. Then we have columns, which takes JSON table columns. The columns clause defines the schema of the constructed view. In this clause, you can specify each column to be filled with an SQL JSON value obtained by applying a JSON path expression against the row pattern. JSON table column has the following variants. Name for ordinality adds an ordinality column that provides sequential row number starting from 1. Each nested path gets its own counter for any nested ordinality columns. Name type format JSON encoding UTF-8 and then path. Inserts an SQL JSON value obtained by applying path expression against the row pattern into the view's output row after forcing it to specified type. Specifying format JSON makes it explicit that you expect the value to be a valid JSON object. It only makes sense to specify format JSON if type is one of dpchar or byte array, character varying, name, JSON, JSOND, text, or a domain over these types. Optionally, you can specify wrapper and quotes clauses to format the output. Note that specifying omit quotes overrides format JSON if also specified, because unquoted integers do not constitute valid JSON values. Optionally, you can use onEmpty or onError clauses to specify whether to throw the error or return the specified value when the result of JSON path evaluation is empty, and when an error occurs during JSON path evaluation or when parsing the SQL or JSON value to the specified type respectively. The default for both is to return a null value. Note, we have this clause is internally turned into and has the same semantics as JSON value or JSON query. The latter if the specified type is not a scalar type or if the value of JSON format JSON wrapper or quotes clause is present. Then we have name type exist followed by optional path expression. Inserts a boolean value obtained by applying path expression against the row pattern into the view's output row and parsing it to specified type. The value corresponds to whether applying the path expression to the row pattern yields any values. The specified type should have a cast from the boolean type. Optionally, you can use onError to specify whether to throw the error or return the specified value. When an error occurs during JSON path evaluation or when parsing SQL or JSON value to the specified type, the default is to return a boolean value false. This clause is internally turned into and has the same semantics as JSON at rest. Then we have nested path expression as JSON path name, columns, JSON table column. Extract SQL or JSON values from nested levels of the row pattern generates one or more columns as defined by the column subclause and inserts the extracted SQL or JSON value into these columns. The JSON table column expression in the columns subclause uses the same syntax as in the parent column clause. The nested path syntax is recursive, so you can go down multiple nested levels by specifying several nested path subclauses within each step. It allows to unnest the hierarchy of JSON objects and arrays in a single function invocation, rather than chaining several JSON table expressions in an SQL element. In each variant of JSON table column described above, if the path clause is omitted, path expression $.name is used, where name is the provided column name. So I think I'll stop here. After this, we have got examples only. We can try to finish, but it will be too much. So I'll stop here. In the next video, we will start from here and we will finish this section. 3 more pages are there, so we are up to here. So we'll finish this tomorrow, and I will show the entire section. That is, we are talking about this particular section, JSON functions and operators, and we'll look at the example. And after that, we'll proceed on to other things. Okay. So I hope that you're enjoying this video, and can understand that all this theory can become boring. So uh, there were lots of examples actually, but in any case, I will give more examples so that it helps you understand the theory. And if you're not watched the previous videos in this playlist, please go through them because I hope that there will be at least something you can learn. So with this, I will end this video here and we'll meet again tomorrow in another video of PostgreSQL. So have a great day ahead. Uh, Keep learning, stay curious, and most importantly, enjoy. By the way, I said I will show you my question answer website. So we have kondika.org. You can come make a login and ask SQL question using SQL tags. So this is where I developed this web application myself. So it would be nice to see you here. So with this, I'll say goodbye and stay curious and enjoy.